We're back, baby. It's the Artemis Esports Bahrain Grand Prix for the start of the new season of Power F1. I'm Lars of the Red Hot Lovers, and with me is a brand new face to the commentary box. We have Sahkir here with me. Say hello, Sahkir.
Hey, what's going on, Lars?
I'm just looking forward to racing. That's all that's happening right now. We've got a little intro playing here. Facts on the screen. You know what? I trust your intelligence enough to read them because we've had enough on our plate as it is, and we're going to have a lot more coming up because we are here for the Academy group here in Bahrain, and they will all be raring to go around this 3.362 mile circuit, 15 turns, very fast, very flowing, but still plenty of opportunities for sub-ups, even if the game does say it's quite an easy circuit. No circuit's easy when you're racing for the win.
No, absolutely not, especially at this level. A lot of these guys are learning. A lot of these guys are also trying to prove that they can themselves be at the next level. So everybody's going to be fighting at the limit, whether it's a lower bar or it's a higher bar. They're all going to be pushing each other here. And so mistakes, I think we're going to see a lot of them, especially when you put them head-to-head against each other, especially opening the season, first race in a long stretch of races. So this is kind of the start of where we get to see the growth of these players here in the Academy.
Indeed, and if you can just confirm for me, my friend, that the stream is working, because that's the first race of the season. We all have our teething troubles, but I think it's working okay, if you can confirm.
Let's find out.
Oh, I've got a little ping there. Hopefully it's working. Who's pinging me? If you'll bear with me, folks. No live chat, but aside from that, I think we're pretty good. Shark just confirmed we have no live chat there, but that's okay. We'll make do for now. No new season ever starts without teething troubles, so you can just ask any real-life F1 driver. But as we were saying, you join us for the Academy tier. So these guys are fairly new to the game, or are just honing their skills. They're not up there with the pros. Not just yet anyway, but we could see some emerging talent coming through. Apologies if we're a bit light on numbers tonight. Only 9 drivers in the field so far. But hey, even a small field can produce a lot of excitement in the world of online racing. Taking you through your drivers then, we have Hanos in the Aston Martin, George in the Alpha Tauri, K-Rock in the McLaren, Christopher Hughes, who's in the pit lane in his Red Bull, Shelton in the Haas, JTK 2003 in the Ferrari, Roham in the Mercedes, Thomas D in the Alpine, and Axie in the Alfa Romeo as we see him spinning towards the wall. Caught him just at the right moment there, didn't we? Is that commentator's curse? Does that count as commentator's curse? I don't know. As
soon as you put him on camera, there's a little bit of a spin. Yeah, maybe just a touch.
Oh dear. I'm still getting pings here. Let me just, if you want to take over there, just see what Shark is complaining about.
Even though he's spun out there, ultimately there's only 9 drivers on the grid, as you mentioned. So hey, points to go around. So you get a little bit of an extra cushion as opposed to a 20 driver grid. So it's okay. Make all the mistakes you want. Obviously, the higher up you place, the more points you get. So that will be the goal. But there we go. Fastest lap set already by George. Below the 130s. at a 129.4 as Hanoi's comes in as well, 129.7. So pretty decent. Yellow flags up in Sector 3. That could ruin someone's time.
That was, I was
George
trying to
is
see
still-
Shelton coming across the line there, but unfortunately the camera messed up there. Just you were mentioning about the points, though, I feel we should explain, for those who missed the live stream, we had a sort of a pre-season show last night, and credit to Rickety and Jonah for putting that on. Just to explain the new season, we are running a different point system this season. The official season of points that we ran last time, we ran the same as the original F1, was 25 for first, 18 for second, 15 for third, and it went down in rather sizable chunks as Thomas D has left the session, obviously having some difficulties there, as Roham sets the fastest lap of the session in the Mercedes with a 129.3, so no one breaking into the 128 yet, but it is early days, the track is evolving. And JTK very nearly breaking into the 128s, a 129 dead pretty much. But back to my point, we have reworked the points to try and allow for some closer championship battles. I believe now, if I recall correctly, it is 16 points for a win. We're still giving a point for fastest lap, but the points gap basically between each one is much smaller than in real life F1. Only about 2 to 3 points gap between each position, which should encourage more consistency rather than just letting a freak win decide the championship. Because ultimately that's what we want in our drivers. We don't want someone to show up for 5 races, score 125 points and become champion. We want them here every week fighting for every point they can get. And
I
hopefully
think that's the mark
that'll work.
of a great driver as well, is not just having these high peaks, but to do it consistently as well. I mean, you look at the real game or the real sport, and it's drivers who are week in, week out, doing the best and performing at the highest level. So yeah, freak win, deciding it. You have 2 or 3 good results and you decide the championship like that. That's a dangerous format to have.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you the perfect example of consistency, showing my F1 knowledge here. Kimi Räikkönen back in 2003 lost the championship by only 2 points, but surprisingly, even though Schumacher won 7 races that season, Kimi was only 2 points behind him, but Kimi Räikkönen only won 1 race that season. But his consistency was so good that he didn't need to win more than 1 race to be within 2 points of the championship. Consistency goes a long way in this sport, and hopefully the drivers in these new point systems will encourage that. We're also trying to make the sprint a little bit more worthwhile. The top 6 in the sprint will get points, 6 for first all the way down to 1 point for 6th. So it means the sprint is much more worthwhile rather than just having a small group at the front maybe slapping up some free points. Because a lot of drivers see the sprint as just like, oh well, it's just a wee small thing and I'm just going to get myself tired out before the race. So sprint is now actually worth points all the way down to 6th place, which should encourage some much more aggressive racing in these shorter sprint races.
And Lars, is it top 10 get points in a normal race like Bahrain today? Is it still
It is still
10
top
or?
10 get points, it's just
Okay,
the
great.
format of the points has changed. It's still top 10, but rather than 25 for a win, it's only 16 for a win. I will try and get the points tally up there officially for you guys in a second, as we just watch Christopher going around, who's apparently set purple sector 2, although that could be a glitch with the game. It's been in there for a while. But we'll see what he can do. All the times on the board fairly consistent. A couple of wee slip-ups from K-Rox and Shelton, and Axie obviously having a mare of a first lap with a 1 minute 50, but that's obviously not representative of his time. As Christopher goes P5 of 29.8, and you can see how close it is between the top 5, all within a second, which is great to see. Really bodes well for the actual race in terms of the pace.
Yeah, and that's really only with one true push lap. Now that the second round of pits are pretty much done and more players are starting to come over the line, we're going to start to see improvements in those times too on the guys who aren't at the 1 minute 29 mark. I was talking to Shelton earlier, someone I know racing in this league, and he was telling me in practice his best time was a 1 minute 30, and he felt pretty confident. But now seeing a bunch of 129s on the board, I'm sure he's feeling a little extra pressure to get that time a little bit faster and more in line with what the top 5 are right now.
Indeed. And I'm just going to hopefully... just keep an eye on Axie here because he should be the next 1-star lap, although K-Rox is actually coming round. We'll keep a wee eye out. No, he's just finishing his lap, although it says it's a 2 minute 27. And that was a glitch because it's now got down to 131.1. So, thank you, F1. If you could be consistent on your timing screens, that would be lovely. But what I will do, if you'll bear with me, as we see an Aston Martin going for a bit of rallycross there for some reason. That was Hanno's, not quite sure where he's going. Obviously getting out of the way, but you don't have to get that out of the way, mate. But just while I'm
track a couple of times.
Oh, and there's yellows. That's just a Mercedes slowing down. But while I'm just getting my bearings here with a few things, just wanted to let you know as well, of course, that you're saying about the push lap. The tracks in the modern F1 games, and it's something we didn't used to have back in 2012. In 2012, you used to just go out on one lap and just drive for all you were worth. The track does evolve over time, as we see Hanno's hooking the curb at turn 10. Such an easy thing to do, and once you're hooked on that curb, it'll just send you straight on. It's so easy to lose the car there. And unfortunately, it's invalidated his lap, but it was an outlap anyway, so that's okay. But basically, the track will evolve over time. So if you go out early doors, the track temperature is still not optimal. Your tires will not heat up as well as they can, and there isn't as much grip on track. So we do expect to see times tumble, even if drivers are pushing from lap 1.
Yeah, so track evolution's still in play then. So yeah, these first round of times that we're seeing, I guess then we would expect them to get a little bit tighter and a little bit faster, I guess.
We call them
Maybe
banker
say
laps
128.
in the trade officially. When you go on your first
what?
lap, you put a little lap time in the bank. It's not your best, but it's
Yeah,
enough to get
put
you
a
on the
banker in.
board. So
You want to have something to fall back on as you're pushing to the limit, especially as qualifying comes a little bit later on.
as we're pushing to the limit, we saw George say he did a 148, but I think that was just a quick little installation lap. We're riding on board with George actually for a nice wee onboard lap here. No real corner names round the Bahrain track. It's a fairly new circuit, 2004, so there were no real corner names, unfortunately. But we're just coming up through turn 4 now, over the crest of the hill. You don't really notice the elevation until you start coming down through this chicane complex, and that Haas in front better get out of the way, because he's going to block George if he's not careful, and he's right on the racing line. No!
Ooh.
That
Now
was
we'll
no.
get out of
Oh,
the
and now
way.
he gets out of the way, but he ruined the approach down the hill for George, and I think George will complain about that, and he'd be well within his right to. There's turn 10, and George messed up on turn 10 anyway. You saw he got his rear wheel on the curb. It's a very high, very raised curb. It's probably one of the trickiest corners, certainly on the track, but probably one of the trickiest corners in F1. So few people get it right. You've got to really nail. It's such a slow entry, and it's very strange. It's like it's very light left-hander. Sorry, yes, a very light left-hander on entry, and it transitions into basically a 90-degree turn halfway through. So it's not quite a hairpin. You can sort of see it on the track map. It's such an odd corner, very unique, and very challenging as well. We'll get a better view with JTK. He's on a cooldown lap, so you'll get a view of the corner on a slow approach here. And as you see, we come over the crest of the hill. It's a blind corner as well, blind left-hander. And you can see normal, heavy braking, left-hand turn. Now that was taking at slow speed.
You want to maintain speed in that first half of the corner because you don't want to lose too much time. But you need to brake hard once you do get to that kind of hairpin bit, the second half of that turn, or I guess the next turn it would be technically. So yeah, it is a very easy place to make a mistake.
Indeed, and we'll watch again with Roham here. Because what you want to do is, you said, you want speed coming through the left-hander, but the heavy braking zone, it's a risk of locking up, and if you put a wheel on that curb, you see Roham actually keeping very far away from the right-hand curb. It's what we would call in the trade in these games a death curb. There's still a few of them in the game. They're not as bad as last year, but that is definitely what we call a death curb. You get a wheel on that, you just lose all grip. At best, you'll lock up and go straight on towards the barrier, but you should have enough braking power to stop. At worst, the car spins and grinds the gearbox along the raised curbing. And because underfloor damage is a thing in this year's game, you can actually damage your car on that corner if you mess up. It's happened before.
And right after is a straightaway with the DRS2, so you want to get on the gas as fast as possible, maximize the straight. So a lot of elements coming into that corner. JTK back in the pits, 128.4, so we've broken the 128s quite smashingly. And he's got about 0.4 of a second lead onto Roham.
Just looking at the other drivers around track, George looks like he will complete this lap, although he's flashing his ERS, so I think he ran out midway through the lap, and he has improved, but only to a 129 dead. It's surprisingly easy to actually run out of ERS if you're not careful around this track, because of the way ERS works. For those who are completely new to F1, you see the little battery symbol on the telemetry on our screen there. That is the ERS, Energy Recovery System it's called. Basically, it uses spare electrical energy to give the engine a bit of a boost. And the way it recovers that energy in a sustainable way is that it uses the heat energy, excess heat energy from the braking. So when you brake heavily into a downhill section, the percentage will go up, and that will be stored in the battery for later use. The problem is, on a track as fast and flowing as this, aside from turn 10 and maybe, the complex slightly before that, you don't really have many heavy braking zones. It's all medium to light braking. So to regain ERS around here is incredibly difficult. You have to manage it very well throughout the race. Because once you go below that 10%, 10% is seen as the magic number in this game. You do use ERS a bit passively, but once you go below 10%, you will really notice a drop in your power. And it is very, very profound in this year's game. You will be getting swamped on the straights if you run out of ERS. We just
JTK on an outlap. George looks like coming into the pits. Yeah, so that was an in-lap.
Shelton to the line. He's 6/10ths down on his previous best. Is he going for another run? It looks like he is. But you see there, this is something to watch for. He's only got 40% ERS. Now, if he started with full, that means he's used 60% on the lap. So, in theory, he shouldn't actually have enough to do a proper lap here. But we'll see what he can do. He's currently P8 at the minute. He may as well go for it because there's only 2 minutes left in the session.
Yeah, probably doesn't have enough time to... Definitely doesn't have enough time to come back in, get new tires. You can see the ERS being used on that straight down to 30% already. And still about 2/3 of the lap to go.
We can see drivers, you can see them on the map there peeling out for one final run. It's the optimal time. It is a fairly short lap run here. And once you have started a lap, the session, when the timer hits 0, you are allowed to finish whatever lap you're on. It didn't used to be that way. I remember back in 2012, actually, when the timer hit 0, it didn't matter if you were on a lap or not, the session ended. Which was very annoying if you were trying to time it to perfection, because you could run out of time on the final corner and the game be like, nope, you're done. So, how times have changed on that regard.
Well, JTK will cross the line and now start their, final hot lap of the session, try and improve on 128.4. But
Thomas D looks like he's starting his lap. Just watching the rest. Thomas D does 132. He's still dead last in the minute, but he'll have time for another run. And maybe just enough ERS. Shelton coming to the line. So this will be his last chance, because he's run out of ERS pretty much. And he does not improve. 1.6 down.
Oh, yeah.
So he will be starting P8 unless Thomas D can improve. Next to the line will be Hanos, and he's invalidated. You see the map has gone red. That means he's invalidated. The white line defines the track, and if you go wide or cut a corner, your lap time does not count, and that's very strict in qualifying. There's no holds barred on that, but he looks like he's going to try and go for another run. He's got plenty of ERS. He must have saved up ERS for when he invalidated early on. K-Rock next across the line. For some reason it's saying he's on 5 minutes. Obviously that's incorrect. He goes 8/10ths quicker, but it's still not enough to get him out of 7th. 30.2. Christopher.
Full ERS in the battery, so they might be going for another one.
Possibly. Christopher does not improve. He stays P5. Axie to the line. Apparently he went 20 seconds quicker somehow. I don't quite get that. The timer's being a bit of a joker with me today. Roham improves by half a second, but he's still 6/10ths down on JTK.
And the new fastest time, a 128.2 from JTK, who's consistently improved. George will also not improve.
Flag is out, so this is it. This is last chance saloon. Thomas D comes to the line, and he's not improved. Turning into the wall in frustration. He did improve actually by half a second, but it's still not enough. He starts P9. Disappointing for Thomas D. Shelton looks like he's too low on ERS, and he's bailing for the pits. He's
low on fuel, doesn't have enough to make another lap.
Hanos has gone purple sector 2 apparently. He was over a second down, so hopefully that wasn't a representative lap time, and maybe he will improve by a large amount. Oh, he loses the rear slightly, but catches it. How much did that cost him? To the line. It cost him too much. He's actually down on his previous time now.
Oh, and it was
Stays
a
P4.
really solid time coming into that final corner as well. Held it together until just right there.
You just saw the rear slip, didn't you? And
Yeah.
you dare not risk, like, you in the V8s, in the old V8 cars, you can maybe risk keeping the power down and power slide it through. With the amount of torque these V6s have, you're not going to do that. You are going to have to just ease off the throttle lest you face the wrath of the wall. Roham to the line does improve by 0.2, but it's still not enough. George to the line now. Improves by 1/10 and again stays third. So they're all improving, but they're staying in the same positions. Anyone left? Axie is still going, although he's chugging along towards the pit lane, it seems. JTK bails for the pits, so I think that is it. I think we are confirmed now.
Yeah, that should be the full order here, and I think based off of what we saw at the start of the session, this feels pretty representative of the group here. I mean, the times, everybody improved, but there wasn't a lot of jumping around in the order from what we saw in the first couple of minutes when drivers were taking their first couple of laps versus now towards the end, that race down to the line. JTK, Roham, George, Christoph, they all improved, and but they all improved relative to their own times and not enough to jump the person ahead of them.
Of course, what we've got to understand as well is there's no points for qualifying, and I've been around league racing long enough to say that the Mr. Saturdays are not always the ones who win. You can have all the single lap pace in the world, but it doesn't matter if you can't hold it during the race. So don't count the chickens yet. Just because the positions didn't change in quali doesn't mean that we're going to have the same result for the race. And of course, we've only had 9 drivers in for this first race, so there's the other half of the field will probably watch this and think, who do I have to watch out for? But should be exciting between the top 3, all within a second of each other. But then there's a lovely little scrap in the midfield as well. The 4th to 7th are all covered by 1 second as well. And then Shelton and Thomas D.
Yeah.
I can't help but feel that those weren't representative times. I feel like maybe there were some mistakes on the lap. I feel they've got more pace in them.
As I said, Shelton knocked down a 130 in practice before coming into this lobby, so I'm sure feels like has more to offer once the race comes in. But yeah, between 7th and 8th, you said it, about a second's gap. You can see the top 3 who are all in the 128s. They were all relatively close. I think 7/10 separate those 3. And then we have plenty of drivers between the 129s and the 130s as well. So different packs throughout this top 9 could be competitive, racing down each other. And also, as you said, once we get into the actual race and conditions are different, you've got a driver next to you who's also trying to maintain pace. You could start to see these guys jump over each other in the field and actually get some real racing here and overtakes happening. So, yeah, this top 9 is a representative order, but I'm sure it'll change once we get into the race as well.
I've just had Casito message me saying, get me in. You're a little bit late, I'm afraid, my friend.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunate.
Just
Chat is disabled on stream. We don't know why chat's disabled on stream, guys. I'm sorry. We'll try and fix it for next time. YouTube being a bit of a pain there. And we're lined up on the grid here, and we will have a formation lap. We will have formation lap.
You can see race strategy popped up a little bit. Medium to hards, that's the preferred. And already somebody spinning on the formation lap.
Oh, who's that? We've lots of the blue. It's Christopher.
Christopher.
Don't mess me up. My name's Christopher. Please don't let the Christophers down. Although my spelling's different, so actually no, it was the Alpine.
Ooh,
the Alpine spun as well. Oh, we're all spinning. What's going on here?
There's a lot of spinning. Cold tires.
Cold tires, boys. That's why we do the warm-up lap.
Yep.
Of course, what we've got to understand as well
I'd rather spin now than in the actual race.
What we've got to understand as well, a lot of Academy drivers probably do have... They could probably be Challenger 1 pace if they ran assists, but I see some guys who are probably just practicing without any assists at all. And to turn off things like traction control and ABS on this year's game is really difficult, so we'll give them credit if they are doing that. Just looking at the... Where are we? Intervals, position change, tires. So we do have some alternating tire strategies, most running mediums, but Roham and Christopher running the hards for their first stint. For those who don't know, I'm not talking about how rare they cook the tires. I'm talking about the actual strength of the compound. So the softer the tire, you'll get more speed from it and more grip, but it wears away quickly. The harder the tire, the less pace you have, but it lasts longer. So there's an element of strategy to it. So 2 drivers looking to go long on this first stint and sacrifice their pace a little bit, and the rest thinking, well, we'll just play it as it is. Very unlikely to see people using softs in the race unless there's a safety car at the end. They just don't last long enough on this year's game. They really don't. And just a quick update, sorry. Confirmation of the points there. First place will get 16 points, second gets 12, third gets 10, fourth gets 8, fifth gets 6, sixth gets 5, seventh gets 4, eighth gets 3, ninth gets 2, and 10th gets 1 point. And there's also a point available for the fastest lap of the race. So, provided they all finish, everyone should get should get at least a point here today. Hanos was disqualified apparently, but that just means he's been put into his grid slot. I should also say, it's a little known rule, you have to complete 90% race distance if you want your position to count. So even if you say you finish 3rd, and you DNF with less than 90% done, you will not score any points. But anyway, 5 red lights. This is not the best camera angle. And they're away, and it looked like a bad start from JTK. Roham gets the better launch, but JTK recovers in the second part of the stint. And we need a better camera angle in this, cameraman. George holding on to 3rd. Axie's battling away there, and we've got a Haas missing the front wing at the back. Shelton's lost his wing. As we've got Hanos battling side by side with K-Rox. Thomas D didn't look like he got a good start. He's still in 9th, but at least he's got a clean nose cone. And that's going to be an expensive trip to the pits for the Haas of Shelton.
Cost a lot of time. Thomas D also very low there, but actually jumped up a couple positions on the start. You saw JTK had a poor start, but with the outside line, having the racing line recovered and swooped into that first turn right ahead of Roham, who's going to be close behind.
He looked like he had
DRS for a while.
He had a poor initial getaway, but during the second part of the startup, just going from first to second, he just found a ton of traction. And Roham just seemed to lose all of the good he got. Maybe it was the hard compound tires not being up to temperature. But whatever, JTK now has to make the most of this and try and get away from him. Because Roham definitely has pace. Gap is already 1.2. But the hards will last longer. So all Roham has to do is keep going, really.
But yeah, and you're exactly right. The hards will last longer. So for JTK, 1.2 seconds ahead. This is the early stages of this stint where he has the benefit with these medium tires. This is the time to try and build out that gap as well. And already outside of DRS, which won't come into effect for another lap. You see the 134 clocked in on that first lap here. And that's the gap that's really building. I think the largest gap.
Oh, sorry, further back. Christopher's under attack from Axie. Axie to the outside, turn 1. Has a good look up the outside. Will go over and under, but doesn't get a good enough launch. But Axie seems to have straight line pace in that car because DRS is not activated yet. But Axie closed like nothing I've ever seen before.
Axie jumped a couple places from the start too, so big to try and get an overtake here could be a real.
Oh, the
real
McLaren
threat.
losing the rear there behind as well. Just saw there, and he loses out to Hanos. Hanos says, "Thank you very much. I'll take that." No penalties at the minute. And just seeing the interval gaps there. Surprisingly, Shelton has not pitted. He's driving around without a front wing.
No, that is very tough.
And it's not like a visual glitch.
It's not like a minor chip. It's the full wing is gone.
Yeah, and it's not like a visual glitch because he is driving very slowly. But although, to be fair, Thomas D has not caught him yet. Thomas D 4 seconds back. What's happened there?
I think Shelton is probably just aware of how far back they're going to be with the front wing change and just isn't ready to bite the bullet yet, maybe.
But he's losing at least a second lap as K-Rox has spun at the top of the hill. That was K-Rox. Yeah. I mean, Shelton's going to be losing at least a second a lap, if not more. So by the time the pit window opens...
Has to come in.
And considering the number of cars in the field, I don't see much chance of a safety car. But whatever, it's his decision. We don't really have black and orange flags in this league, so he's pitting now. Whether he thought he could just drive around the problem, and he gets 5 seconds for his troubles for speeding.
Oh, that's very unlucky. Just to add insult to injury. Can he make it, you think, 25, 26 laps with hard tires?
Does he have much of a choice at this point?
I guess so, yeah. He's really going to have to do a little bit of whispering to make it through the end of the stint. Or go, make another stop there.
He may have to. He may switch to the softs at the end. I mean, if there's a safety car, he may get lucky. You never know. Main battle to watch on track at the minute is Hanos, who's on the move now. He's right under Axie's rear wing, who still isn't able to get past Christopher, and seems to have lost that sudden burst of speed.
Yeah.
As we
Axie
see
was jumping up through the,
Christopher
through the
running
order
wide
really
over the
well.
curb. This may be Axie's chance.
With DRS open as well, and now you can see coming down this straight is going to
Goes
take a
to
look
the
on the
inside.
inside, and there's the dive. And from under threat to now making a move, but Christopher is going to stay around and stay ahead.
He went too far to the inside. It's deceptive, that red arrow. He probably thought, I want to leave him room, I don't want to clip him off. But if you're the attacking car and you have the racing line, as Christopher loses the rear slightly and has to go across the AstroTurf there, he's actually going to let Axie through, I think, is saying, I shouldn't have got that position. No, he is battling him for it. They're giving each other a lot of room, which is the safe thing to do, but that's one of the tricky things to learn, is you've got to be prepared to squeeze your opponent a little bit. Maybe not that much, though, as we're going to go 3 wide, down into turn 1 here. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Hanos actually takes both of them, does he? No, he's late on the brakes, and there's a bump.
Contact.
He was very early on the brakes, and that was just, that was almost like a side pod glitch, where the two wheels sort of interlocked, and there was just a very slight bump. But thankfully he held it. It wasn't a full spin, thankfully. And Axie and Christopher still side by side. This is great stuff.
And Axie had the DRS there, but it's a wide sweeping turn from Christopher to just deny Axie the ability to take a good angle into that turn and keep that position.
Christopher running wide again, though. I want to ride on board with Axie. I just want to look at his approach on the corners.
Be important.
Because he does just seem to either sweep in too early or just too late. He needs to... See, he swept in very early. You saw him having to sort of loosen off the steering and then go back onto it. And that cost him time. You should be trying to make your steering one smooth motion. Which, I know it's easy for me to say that. Oh, and that was an early break from Christopher, but he seems to have actually gone a bit deep. And we've got a spin. That's George!
That's George.
George in the Alpha. It's an unusual spot to spin. He could have got on the curb, but I think more likely it was collision. And actually now gets ahead of Christopher, as we were looking away, of course. Looking this way and that way. Now. He's trying to go to the outside. Axie holds the inside line. That's a good defensive position. He hasn't compromised his line too much. And actually gives Hanos a run. Now, Christopher should be getting into the toe, and he does. Axie moves to the inside. He's made his one defensive move. He's getting sandwiched here. 3 wide again. This is great to watch. He loses out both places.
Be the beneficiary.
He's in an F1 sandwich. And does he hold it out? He does. Well done, Axie. That was great driving there.
Break the touch early there heading into that first corner. Otherwise, it looked like he had the advantage and now is far behind as Axie is still holding on against Christopher.
What's brilliant is he also got DRS for that straight, because the detection point, during that detection point, he was actually behind both of them. But he was ahead for the DRS zone. Axie showing his worth here. As Christopher runs wide again, he's carrying too much speed. He needs to just settle into a rhythm and pick his moment, because look, he's making so many mistakes trying to keep the pace up that Hanos nearly had him there.
Yeah, getting a little antsy, getting a little aggressive, and yep, Hanos is starting to peek at that window.
And he's run
and
wide
there
again.
We go wide yet again, and Hanos, I think,
DRS
could benefit, but he'll run in right off track anyway.
Was there a boost pad off to the side there that Christopher used? Yahoo! And away he goes. I mean, they can report him for that, but I think it was probably cost him more time than it gained him. But that's the big thing that you have to remember in this sport. And it's the hardest lesson to learn in online play, because there are no real life, consequences. You can't get a broken arm, you can't smash up a £1 million car. A race can never be won on the first lap, but you can certainly lose it. You've got to be patient, you've got to pick your moment, you've got to time it right. It's tempting, it's so tempting when you're faster than the car in front to just send a lunge up the inside, but 90% of the time, that's going to go wrong and it will cost you. You've got to pick your moment. And you can see that's what Hanos is trying to do here.
Hanos picking the moment, but you see that's exactly what happened with George. Now 7 seconds behind Hanos and was sitting comfortably in 3rd place for the first
hopefully
couple of laps.
Hopefully George will provide a clip, because I'm convinced that he didn't spin on his own there. I think there was contact between him and Roham, because they were battling away while we were watching the 3 battling in the midfield. And it's so unusual to spin on that corner. I've never really seen anyone do it. But speaking of spinning, that's Hanos. He lost it going down the hill section. And is he beached? He is beached. Now, if he read the rules, he should be able to reset to track, but if he doesn't hurry, he's going to get disqualified. You can see the car is actually... He did reset to track, that's okay. He's allowed to do that if he's beached. So that's perfectly fine. He tried everything he could. So we actually I appreciate that, because if he'd just gone straight reset to track, there would have been an argument that he could have gotten out of that. But we saw that he was beached. He's done nothing wrong there. But it has sent him to 8th place.
Had to let George and Kyra go.
Well, he didn't have much choice there, as I say.
Enter back in the track. Yeah, had to let him go.
No, he did, but he didn't have much time because he literally couldn't hit the accelerator. He was actually beached on the curb. So, back with the battles though, Christopher and Axie inseparable at the minute, and Christopher's coming back at Axie again. 2 tenths separating them. And who said a 9-car race wouldn't be exciting? This is brilliant stuff.
This battle's been delivering since lap 1, and we're only 7 laps in, but Axie's holding on to that lead. They've had quite a jump from where they qualified in qualifying. I mean, a great opening, and now battling up from 5th now to 3rd, and they're sitting on the podium.
I'll tell you what though, Christopher's actually a massive advantage here, because he's on the hard compound tires. He's going to go long, and he's cleared most of the cars behind him that would have had a pace advantage on the mediums. So he's looking very strong in this position, because Axie will have to pit sooner than Christopher. And when Christopher does pit, he'll be coming out on fresh, faster mediums for the tail end of this stint. Or for the tail end of the race, rather. His stint is the hardest he's on the minute. And he's on the slower rubber. He's actually keeping he's keeping Axie honest. And that's all you can really expect a slower compound to do at this stage. Someone who's not being kept honest, though, is JTK. 8.5 seconds up the road. And he's just romping away with this at the minute.
Yeah, and again, Roham's on the hard compound tires, but that battle is not remotely the same as the battle that Christopher's having with Axie.
It's not really a battle, I'd say, more of a skirmish.
Not a battle. Battle would be a loose term.
Exactly. But then again, we've seen a Ferrari leading at the start of the season before, and we all know how that went in real life, so we'll not count anything. It is race 1.
Ferrari winning in Bahrain. Good omen, bad omen.
10 races later. No!
We were going for 2nd the whole time. So, a big lead, though, for JTK. Very comfortable. Roham as well still has a 6-second gap to Axie. So, it's really just Axie trying to hold on to Christopher, and is now gaining about a 10th a lap versus in the last 2 laps. So, is I think now getting to a point where they're comfortably holding. But eventually, they are going to have to come in, and Christopher is going to be able to take advantage and really start going there.
Oh dear. I've just looked in the Tier 1 chat, or the Academy chat. Casito saying F, with a long F. I fell asleep. RIP.
Oh.
He fell asleep in the garage.
That's brutal.
Casito, this is F1. It's not the 24-hour Le Mans. Wake up, come on.
Don't you hate when you're sitting in your car and you just fall asleep in the pit lane?
I'm pretty sure an F1 driver did that before, didn't it? I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it Kubica?
Oh, I gotta imagine it's happened, but...
I think it was Kubica. I seem to recall him being asleep in his car at one point. Oh, I miss the Polish lad every day.
Kubica. Well, could see him, well, I guess...
Absolute legend. I mean, he's still in. He's a reserve at the minute, I believe.
He's reserve, right, at Alpha?
I believe so, yeah, so... Yeah. It's a shame he missed his boat and the fact that he had that rally crash, but, you know, what a legend. Absolute legend. But anyway, back to our race. The gap holding steady, and I think Christopher's realised that he can't compete with the pace advantage at the minute, so he's just going to sit back and try to just follow Axie, although it has cost him a lot of ERS. You see him down to 16% now. Axie, on the other hand, at 33, basically double. So Axie conserving his ERS, only using it when he has to, although Christopher had a better run through the first corner. Close. Maybe the mediums are just starting to go a little bit. Because Christopher suddenly found some more pace here. He's much closer this time round. We're riding on board, and
that gap has been 5/6 tenths of a second the whole time, and now we even saw it go as low as 1.5 tenths. So now he's starting to maybe have a look now. These mediums could be falling out. It's about lap 9, so the window for these mediums, we're going to start to see that come in.
Did you see the pit strategy? Did it say what the mediums would go to, roughly?
Oh, I didn't
if I'm trying to work it out in my head here. They sort of go...
typically is what I associate in this game.
Yeah, they sort of go just below half race distance, so maybe lap 13, 14, 15 in a stretch, maybe?
What I would expect.
And if that's the case, we're about to hit double digits. So yeah, the mediums, if they've been pushing them, probably are losing a bit of their strength here. Certainly not their best.
Certainly been pushing. Certainly been pushing.
I mean, JTM, his will last much longer because he's had clear track in front of him, no hot air to degrade the tires, and he's just been controlling the pace, so he's still looking very good at the minute. Poor old Shelton with his lap 1 instant. He's still 20 seconds off the field and a 5-second penalty, but he'll keep going because he'll finish in the points if he does finish the race. So it's still 2 points on the board, and those could prove crucial at other tracks. Hano's unlucky that he got beached on the curb, but if it was a spin, that was his own fault.
A mistake from Axie at turn 1, so now Shelton had a look there on the outside, but
Axie with great straight line speed on this setup. Sorry, I didn't mean you're up there. There's a mic delay, but you can see Christopher gaining in the corners, but Axie just pulls away on the straights. He's not even using ERS, so the setup's clearly different here. Christopher focusing more on the corners, Axie focusing on the straights, and it's made for a very even battle. Christopher going to the inside. Does he have him? They're still side by side. We've been in this position before. But the tires must be down because Axie did not get the traction off the corner. But he's on the inside for turn 10. And Christopher goes deep. And a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. He's gone wide too many times. Yep.
He's gone off here so many times.
Yep. I mean, that was bound to come eventually. The FIA clearly had enough of his shenanigans. And those 3 seconds might come back to hurt him because George is only 4.1 behind. And by come the end of the race, that could really come back to bite him.
Hanos has dropped a couple positions as well, down in 8th place. So Thomas is up in 7th. But this battle for 3rd and 4th there, it looked like Christopher had everything after it was a mistake from Axie out of turn 1. That opened the door for Christopher up until that
yellow,
that we talked about during qualifying.
That's K-Rock going wide at the top of the hill, and actually Hanos is caught. You're talking about him losing positions. Hanos is chasing Thomas D, and wow, he's right behind him, and Thomas D's struggling for pace a little bit at the minute. Oh, tries the late minute squeeze to the outside, but Hanos says, "I'm not having any of that, boy." Look at that, Thomas D trying to muscle his way into the defense, but Hanos is steely nerved and will have him under DRS and ERS here, will he not? Thomas D looks like he's lagging slightly.
Oh, he is struggling, absolutely.
Hanos to the outside, which becomes the inside, and that's that move done. So Hanos up to 7th, and K-Rock not too far up the field from there. We've got yellows, that's Christopher. He spun at the hairpin, and the pressure of chasing Axie obviously got to him. Axie keeping his nerves of steel. George says, "I'll take that, sir," and goes up to P4. So Axie now securely in 3rd place at the minute, for now. But George will have something to say about that.
Yeah, nice little thank you from George, because remember at the start of the race, George was sitting up there in 3rd in the AlphaTauri, and then fell down to 7th after mistake or contact or something with his battle with Rohan, but has now worked his way up into 3rd, also on the medium tires, so there's not going to be much of a tire offset to get back into 3rd against Axie, but that gap is 4.5 seconds. And we've still got plenty of race to go, so we can start chipping away at that 4-second gap.
Well, of course, the question is as well, not only their inherent pace, but we know that Axie would have used some of his tires while battling Christopher. Oh, I was going to say, but how much did George use? But how much did George use whilst trying to catch back up to the pack? Probably tore those tires to shreds. So lap 12, the pit window opens. Christopher has retired.
Oh, wow.
He's pulled into the pits and he's called it.
So no points?
So there'll be no points. He didn't do enough laps. Whether he was having problems with his wheel or something.
It's possible. I mean, gone off track a lot of times, so something comfort-wise might have been missing as well.
I mean, maybe, but it was only a 3-second penalty. He could have easily got higher up in the points than that, but it's his decision, the team, or his decision. He's decided to retire the car, and we've got yellow flags. Is that safety car? No, it's just George trying to warm up the tires. I hate it when the game does this. You'll notice the yellows in Sector 1. That's because the AI... he's retired in the pits like he should have done, and the AI has now just pulled out of the pits, pulled over, blown up a DRS board, and now it disappears.
You know, also, Shelton now battling with Hanos, who's just come out of the pits, but I've just noticed Shelton, when he made that pit back in lap 2, went on to the mediums. So Shelton will have to come back in to get on hards.
Maybe just not comfortable doing the hards on a higher tank of fuel. Maybe thinking with lighter fuel, you know, maybe I could get the tires up to temperature quickly, get a bit more pace out of them. Maybe just hoping for the extra grip security of the mediums during these heavier moments.
Like
and we got K-Rox who went wide. I didn't even see that.
Wow.
He went to Narnia. He went so far off the camera.
Yeah, he's been struggling these last couple of laps as well. I feel like a mistake on every lap in the last 2 or 3. And has finally caught up to him now in 8th place. Of course, Shelton, Thomas D, they still need to pit. So that positioning could be a little bit misleading. But at the moment, last place.
Yeah, obviously finding those hards a bit difficult. It's surprising the amount of grip difference between the mediums and the hards. People sort of think like, oh, it's a bit of a smooth transition. And that's true for a lot of tracks, but for Bahrain especially, the softs feel like super glue, the hards feel like you're driving on ice.
Could come to the benefit of Roham, who's 10.
And Shelton gets another 5 seconds.
Oh, man, things are not going their way.
So he'll serve 5 seconds at this pit stop. You'll notice the pit crew will not service the car for 5 seconds because they have to serve that penalty, and then he'll get another one. If he doesn't pit again, it'll be added to his time at the end of the race. But you can see the crew waiting there. It's an agonizing 5-second wait. And in fact, he's about to get lapped, is he? No, because JTK is coming in.
JTK's come in. So medium's off, and this is the chance for Roham then, who will pass him outside because he's still on the hards, needs to try and catch up on those 10.5 seconds.
Oh, no! I've just seen the post. Christopher has replied. He said, my effing pedals on my wheel broke. He lost the gear shifters. That's an expensive one as well. I'm so sorry, Christopher, because you were actually... that maybe explains why he was making mistakes. If the pedals were on the verge of breaking, he could have easily missed a downshift or an upshift. And that would explain why he would run wide, but his pedals have actually broken.
That is heartbreaking.
And that means, unless he gets a new wheel quickly, he might miss a couple of weeks racing. Which you don't want to see, because he had decent pace. Especially if his car was busted like that, you know. So, sorry to hear that, Christopher. Rickety trying to help diagnose the problem, saying, how bad is it? You know, they all I'll say this much for the community, all chipping in, you know, saying, like, what can we do? You know, can we help you fix it? Because we've got a few techies in the Discord. But if it's pedals, especially if it's the magnetic ones, it might not be an easy fix.
Everyone in love with the game, in love with the sport.
Well, I wouldn't say in love with the game this year per se, but we're in love with the sport, certainly.
In love with the, let's say in love with the sport. Yeah. Game would be in reference to the sport.
Christopher saying, at first they were just bad, now I had to retire because they legitimately fell off. He worked the pedals so hard they've actually fallen off his wheel. That's dedication. And car braking as well. But anyway, so... Roham, currently in the lead, not the net lead, but he is on probably the quickest phase of the hard compound tires. The question is, how much of a gap can he build up before he has to pit? We've only got one driver left who started on the hards, and that is Roham himself. Everyone else was on mediums and have transitioned to hards. So Roham, the only one running the counter strategy, still in the race. And the gap is maybe... it's sort of stationary around that 13.7, which is not enough.
Yeah, he needs it to be closer to about 23 seconds, which
he
is
needs
where
about he needs about 10 seconds. And actually, at this pace, provided actually keeps it clean, he might find himself coming out ahead of Roham.
Absolutely. I mean, that clock's hovering around 23 seconds, but it's dipped into 22. And, you know, these hards are still new, so it's going to be up for a long time.
Indeed. And
quite a jump then for the Alpha.
I'm touching wood here because I don't want commentators cursing, but like, you know, I'd be really happy for actually get a podium because of the lack of numbers last year. We had a rough year last season. Actually ended up getting put into Challenger 1. And, you know, he fought like a lion. He didn't do too well, but he fought like a lion against guys who were well above his driving, you know. And he richly deserves to do well in Academy. He richly deserves it. So, third place would be great, but if he has a chance to get second, and I tell you what, I spy, with my little eye, something beginning with G in Axie's rear camera.
Oh yeah, that gap now 2.4 seconds. When the pit mayhem started, it was about 4.5 seconds. So a lot of gain there from George. In terms of that first place battle between JTK and Roham, by the way, JTK's put in a couple of purple sectors there with these new hard tires, so things don't seem to be going in Roham's favor for now. But back to third and fourth place, George has been biting into that lead.
He has, but Axie's
Both
just
of them
done
have
a
pitted,
personal
so-
best. He just done a personal best. He went half a second quicker. So Axie finding some pace on the hards as well, and the gap actually nearly going up to 3 seconds again. So Axie has basically said, yeah, I see you approaching. Game on, sunshine. Game on.
Yeah. Stopped
So,
relaxing, started to build that gap back up. And at this
This
point,
is,
the only one who hasn't pitted is Roham because of that alternate strategy. Everyone else is a couple of laps into their last set of tires in their final stint.
Roham, I think, has built up just enough of a gap to stay ahead of Axie, but JTK is just closing in on him. I think Roham has maybe resigned himself to thinking, I'm going to finish second, barring some miracle here. But, and Axie's actually got the gap up to 4.6. George must have had a really rough sector.
Something's happened, yeah.
Yeah, the gap's increasing massively.
Roham
And
is going
Axie,
to come out in the
this
pits.
is great. And JTK with the fastest lap of the race, well, 132. Is JTK 2003? Are we sure he hasn't got a Ferrari 2003 car there with him? Are we sure it's not that Ferrari he's driving?
Channeling a little Schumacher energy there.
Just goes on board, hears the scream of a V10 in the back.
That explains everything.
That
V10
explains
would
so
be
much.
much faster than these cars.
As Roham has pitted and he's come out, we actually didn't see that. Roham on the medium. So here's the situation then. 12 laps to go, 10-second gap. JTK on very fresh hards, but Roham on fresher mediums, which should have more pace. Can he hunt down JTK? It's not impossible by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, you look at the first half of the race. JTK with the mediums was able to build a 10-plus second gap. Now we come to the second half of the race, a little less than that. So when you just look at what JTK did in the first 15 laps, it would be the same as what Roham needs to do in the last 15 laps. But the question is...
But he's not got 15, he's only got 12.
A touch more. Yeah, he only has 12 laps, and all day long, the edge, JTK's always had it. So the possibility is there, but we need to see something from Roham that we haven't seen yet. And this gap's actually fallen down into the 11-second mark, which is the opposite direction. He's still warming them up, but
We're just staying with Axie there, and
progress.
he stabilized that gap at about 4 seconds. So, unfortunately, we finally hit a quiet phase of the race, it seems. All the gaps are fairly large at the minute. I say George and Axie the closest, as poor old Shelton has finally been lapped. He's been lapped by JTK, so he will have to do one lap. Well, on the bright side, then he doesn't have to fuel save because he has an extra lap of fuel now, technically. So, silver linings, you know, silver linings.
Catch up to Thomas D. Maybe move up a position.
12 seconds, but he's also got that 5-second penalty that he got for speeding in the pit lane. So, 17
About
seconds
17
is essentially the
seconds.
gap. And just looking...
Tough though, because
I tell you what, Roham, it was 11 seconds the gap, and Roham's gone purple sector 1. I think he's accepting this challenge. I think he smells blood. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. We'll keep an eye on it.
these mediums are going to be in a very nice window for the remainder of this race for Roham to make a move and start to build in. Yeah, 10.6 seconds. Continuously improving. When I look back though at Shelton though at 8th place, it's a little heartbreaking, right? 2 penalties, those both could have been avoidable, but then also had the front wing collision there in the opening lap, and that's going to lose you about 20-25 seconds. Not to mention the added time of replacing the front wing, then the added time of having another pit stop added to the mix. So 12 seconds back, or I guess 17 seconds back. Probably won't look at it this way, but there is a silver lining to be had when it comes to what his pace could look like for the rest of the season.
I was going to say, this isn't really a representative race for him, you know. Where would he be right now as Roham sets the fastest lap? Where would he be right now?
131.7.
Where would he be right now if he hadn't had that incident on lap 1? Maybe P5, P6? Maybe even
Well, with how
higher.
chaotic the race had been there in the midfield, it's possible.
Maybe even higher,
Definitely.
possibly. Could have been battling George and Axie here. Speaking of George, 3.4 the gap now, 3.5. So Axie controlling it somewhat, and they're both very low on ERS, but Axie just seems to be able to manage it that little bit more. George is burning away there, trying to catch up. And of course, the problem is if he's burning to even catch up, then what's he got left to fight with when he does catch Axie? Answer is not a lot. The gap at the front now, 9.5. That is coming down, but I don't think it's coming down quite enough yet. I think if it continues at this pace, Roham would be literally right under JTK's rear wing, coming up to the line. But he'd probably need one more lap to try and make a move.
Well, his fastest lap was a 131. JTK hadn't even banked in a 131 with their fastest lap. And then Roham had a purple sector 1 as he's coming to the end of sector 2. Another purple sector.
7/10, excuse me?
Sectors. Incredible pace there. So
Hold on, let me just get
back-to-back purple sectors coming into the final corner. We could see a new fastest lap here yet again. And again, JTK had not broken into the 131s.
Well, the fastest lap is only... No, JTK did do a 31.7.
Did he?
Yeah, but now it's a 31.1.
Okay. Now it's a 131.1.
Okay, that is immense pace. But is it enough?
It's still about 9.5 the gap.
Yeah, and he needs to be bringing it down like a second a lap. At the minute, it's not quite enough, although it's a valiant effort. Silver Arrow charging.
They need.
And, uh-oh. Of course, he's got traffic as well in the form of Shelton coming up. Now, if he could time it right, he might be able to get DRS off of the Haas, but... and also, I've just noticed that Roham has flashing rear lights. He's burned so much of his ERS, he's down to 11%. Yeah. Maybe just hoping to keep the fastest lap at this point, you know? He'll get the extra point for it.
The extra point. Well, on the bright side, JTK also very low on ERS. I think starting to maybe feel like the pressure from Rohan could come, but 10 seconds the gap now. It feels pretty safe. It was a really, really strong 2 laps that Rohan put in, but it hasn't been strong enough so far.
Speaking of pressure, George now 1.9 behind Axie. He's closed that gap. 1.5 because Axie had a messy turn 10. But Axie is conserving that ERS again. He's nearly up to 30%. George, meanwhile, is almost about to drop to 10. So again, as I said, once he catches up, what's he got left?
He's really going to have to rely on that DRS, but Axie is so strong in the straights with the setup.
And DRS is
very tough to compete.
DRS has been nerfed since last year's game. ERS is where it counts, and Axie seems to understand that. Again, he's saving up to nearly 30%, so he can just pop that on the straight, literally get a Mario Mushroom and go zoom. But this is an intriguing battle.
Gotta say, George at one point had gotten it down to about 2.5, and it went back up to 4. So now to get it to about a second, and they've kept in touch with Axie on this straight here, on the pit straight.
I don't think they've been within DRS range, though. I don't think it's DRS range, though. They were over a second to the detection point. Were they? Let's just have a check. Looking behind, does the rear wing open? No, it doesn't. Not DRS this time round.
So I think in target lap should be 1 or 2 laps for George. And that would be a big recovery run because Axie came from the back of the pack with a brilliant first lap and fighting their way all the way through. George was in third comfortably, and then after either a mistake or some sort of contact with Roham, got sent back to the back and had to fight their way back up. So both of these 2 drivers have had to do overtaking to get to where they are.
I mean, no disrespect, but if JTK and Roham could blow up, because these 2 deserve to be 1-2 at the minute. They've been giving us great entertainment, great battles. They've been driving their hearts out. George looks like he's finally settled into a rhythm. But again, look at the ERS. Look at Axie. That's why he's let him caught up. Look, 35% ERS now. He's got tons in the tank.
So
George still hovering around 14. So I get the feeling it'll come to the straight. It won't matter if you got DRS, because Axie will just burn light blue touch paper and go.
But I think now that George is within touching distance and has 6-7 laps to work with, can now kind of start to play a little bit of the longer game, knowing that Axie's within striking distance. Half a second the gap. DRS won't be as much as ERS, but maybe he can rely a little bit more on that to build DRS for the rest of the lap.
Now look, Axie's pulling away, and look at that. Even with DRS, Axie's pulling away.
Even with DRS.
But George seems to have understood the braking points a little bit more on these hard compound tires. Gosh, I don't know who I want to win out on this battle. They both deserve it, but George looks stronger at this phase of the race.
Well, that's the beauty of this, is we don't get to decide. And we just have to watch and see what happens.
My boy actually deserves it, but so does George. Oh, I mean, but this is what we want to see. We want every driver to deserve it. We want them to fight tooth and nail for every little point. Oh, that's close, George, and he does make slight contact. That was very late on the brakes. But there was nowhere to go. He sort of has Snifter to the outside, but nothing doing. Axie's braking rather early, but he's entitled to.
Oh,
and George has spun it!
There's a spin!
He got too impatient on the throttle. It's such an easy thing to do, and Axie, you got to give him credit. He just kept a cool, calm head, ignored the pressure, and the pressure got to George instead. And now 8 seconds. George will be kicking himself with that one. But Axie, look at him, he's just trucking along.
With 6 laps to go, that might be the podium secured for Axie. A run from the back. And yeah, keeping calm under pressure, the way that George was back there for so long, chasing him down, got within a second for about a lap and a half, and Axie was flawless throughout that whole presentation. And of course, you would just wait long enough, somebody's going to make a mistake.
Yep. I mean, Axie at this point is the equivalent of the fucking Steamboat Willie cartoon. You just expect to see little cartoon puffs of smoke popping out as he's bobbing his head, whistling the tune. He's just driving on. He's not really caring. He's like, oh, George is a second behind me? Okay. Oh, he spun? Okay.
Memes with Katy Perry playing in your headset. That's what he feels like. So much comfort right now.
Oh, the race is over? Okay, you probably keep on driving around even when the flag drops. Someone will have to wake up.
That's how I'm sure JTK's felt this whole series. I mean, 2-3 tenths ahead in qualifying, and then you get onto the race and immediately built a 2-second gap after just 2 laps.
I mean,
so
JTK at least
the same as well.
At least Axie's had some battles to keep him awake. JTK, I'm surprised he's not falling asleep at the flipping wheel at this point, because he's been well out there.
Could have come into the pit stops for a quick nap and still end up in a good spot, honestly.
I mean, if Roham needed to, he doesn't because he's got fast lap. But if he needed to, he could pit now for softs, try and go for an even faster lap, and still come out ahead of Axie. So, yes, I think that's basically, unfortunately, with that spin from George, I fear that's going to be the end of the close quarters racing. But to keep it going with only 8 drivers for 24 laps of solid excitement, I mean, 90% of the time, a full F1 grid in real life doesn't give you this much excitement in 24 laps, you know.
To the battles that we've had in this first race, the opening race of this long series. I mean,
with half a grid,
fight Roham, Axie, Hanoi, and Christopher in a 3-way fight for what, 3-4 laps there, looking for a position.
We had 3 wide going down the straight after just 3 laps. I mean, commentators will be flipping creaming themselves in real life if they saw 3 wide going down the straight, and we saw it like 3 times in the space of 3 laps. It was fantastic.
Yeah,
really good to see.
Beautiful race there.
Really good to see.
And it sets up what should be a terrific season, right? I mean, if these are the drivers that we're starting with, then of course more will continue to join on, and we'll get more drivers on the grid. And this is already what we're seeing with only 8-9 drivers, I guess, technically at the start of the day.
I know, it bodes really well.
For excitement.
It bodes really well, and hopefully we haven't commentators curse that. Again, I'm knocking on wood here just to make sure. But, no, never underestimate the power of the commentators curse. I've learned that the hard way over the years. But no, I mean, it is looking like a very promising. I mean, we were worried at the end of last season. We thought, the game hasn't done as well as we thought. People were dropping out, and we only got 2 tiers last season. And we do seem to have gotten back to our full strength, well, nearly full strength so far. And if this is the way the Academy ones fight, the ones who are just, learning the ropes and getting settled in, what's it going to be like for Challenger 1, which I'm in, cough, cough, hint, hint, which has a full grid, and even better than that, the Pro Series, who are fighting for actual prize money. It really bodes well.
Since you are in Challenger 1, you look at somebody like JTK, who's been dominant throughout the entire day. If they made the jump up to the next level, where would that put them, or where could you see them then being in?
I'll have to come back to you on that one, because we have to see how Challenger 1 actually does in terms of quality pace, in terms of race pace, in terms of racecraft. I mean, certainly in terms of racecraft, these guys are probably going to be better than most of the guys in Challenger 1, because Challenger 1, they're knocking on the door of Pro. They're fighting for everything they've got. These guys, they understand, I feel, to a degree more that, I'm going to take my time here. I'm going to learn the tricks of the trade. I'm going to learn the ropes. I'm just going to be smooth and consistent. You know what I mean?
JTK has been, for sure.
It's kind of what Formula 3 is to Formula 2 to Formula 1, In Formula 3, obviously you're trying hard, but you understand you've got some time. You're going to spend a couple of years in the junior leagues. You're going to work your way up. In Formula 2, you're like, if I win the championship, I go up to Formula 1. So you're going to fight tooth and nail. You're going to make dumb moves from time to time. So I feel like it's a similar sort of thing. So, we've seen clean racing. We've seen good battles. Have we seen the same pace as Challenger 1 or Pro? No, but that doesn't detract from the racing value in any way.
And we shouldn't expect to either at this level.
Exactly. No, I'm very pleased with how it's gone. Especially, I was rolling my eyes. I was groaning at the start thinking, oh God, we've only got half a grid. But I've been pleasantly surprised, very pleasantly surprised. And I hope you have been as well, because this has been really good stuff.
First race for me, this has been thoroughly enjoyable. I think that the situations and the battles that we've had, as you mentioned, probably not what I expected coming into the opening map. So it's given me a lot to sit up on my seat for.
I'm glad we could entertain you, sir. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Sure if you're watching at home, you must be. You must be with what we've seen here.
Well, not in these last wee bits, although it's nice to just get a wee breathe
the
time.
battles that we've had.
Should we just mute the mics and go for some Formula 1 ASMR?
Let's do the hot lap and hear what the sound up lap as they do now.
And you're listening to Formula 1 ASMR. Tune in to the soothing sounds of the V6 engines driving by on this hot desert evening here in Bahrain. I don't know, how was my ASMR voice?
I loved it. I was about to fall asleep, honestly. Get
Hello,
the little whisper
Morgan.
in
I'm
there.
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman behind the mic here doing one of these laps. That would be tremendous. That rich, deep voice that you get.
And he's going heavy braking into turn 1. Keeps the rotation nice and smooth. Going up to turn 2. Activates
Good
the
impression,
DRS.
I've got to say.
Sorry, I'm not.
Honestly, the southern country kind of also doesn't seem too out of character. So I appreciate it.
I mean, we're F1, not NASCAR, but
Yeah, but you went for Morgan Freeman's accent. I think you weren't off base there. I think it was in the right direction for sure.
Well, thank you very much. That was more Elvis there.
There
I
you
went.
go.
Well, thank you very
That was
much.
a touch more Elvis.
Well, thank you very much.
He was expecting the lightning bolt to come around.
Well, now we're riding on board with the king here. He's in first place with 9.5 seconds in his pocket. What has this turned into?
Tremendous. It's just been all the celebrity impressions that you can do.
This has just been a good time. This is what this has been, and I hope everyone at home agrees. This has just been a damn good time. We've had great racing, great banter, no arguments, no fights. Aside
could have
from
an argument if you'd like.
Well, no. Poor wee Christopher is the only thing.
we
We've got
there
to spare a thought for him. He actually did nothing wrong. His equipment let him down. Actually, hang on, hold on. Let me just recap here. We've got a Ferrari winning in Bahrain, and a Red Bull DNFing due to mechanical failures. Does this sound familiar to anyone else?
And the Mercedes comes away to swoop up the next position.
Does this sound familiar to anyone else?
I think I've seen this one before. Is there a glitch in the Matrix?
I've seen this one before. This is a
How's
classic.
this happened?
Although to be fair, the Mercedes hasn't been abusing track limits or anything, so
Well, if this is the case, Christopher won't see it like this because they've got. Oh, and you know what? They might DNF a couple races down as well because of their.
I know.
equipment,
Well,
like
I'm just
Australia
checking.
anyway, so
Where's Challenger 1? Has
So-
anyone been able to help the poor lad? Or
this
Academy
could
1?
bode very well for Christopher then.
Hang on, let's just see if anyone's tech support in chat. So he's running G29. He said the screws were already loose inside the wheel as I could hear the rattling, and then the upshift one just dipped more and more until it came off.
Ooh.
So it actually sounds like the shifter it's only the upshifter, but it sounds like the screw actually worked its way loose. So in theory, I think if he finds the
fixable.
location, if he's not afraid to crack it open, I think he could screw the shifter back on. Provided he's careful with the wires and the sensors, I think that's repairable.
He's come out for softs. The McLaren's come in for softs. I think
Well,
he attempt the fastest lap here. They don't have time.
Well, unless is he a lap down? No, he's a lap down, so he's just starting lap 28. So, oh no, he won't get because the Ferrari is
because this is the final lap of the race for JTK.
Well, I mean, and unless he gets those tires up to 10 quick, he's going to lose out to Thomas D here. Well, I think he will do because they're soft.
I certainly hope that K-Rock didn't come in was ahead of Hanoi. I don't think that was the case. No,
plus 43. No, he wasn't. But have we got one more sting in the tail here because Thomas D is right under the rear wing of K-Rock. Could we see an almighty upset? The softs are not up to temperature yet.
Very tough. That would be a very poor calculation for K-Rock. Can't get the fastest lap and then to lose the position to Thomas D, who's been not having the cleanest of races all day from qualifying up until now.
He's also been saving a lot of ERS. He's at 78%, and he has a wee snifter. Can Thomas D make it work here? K-Rock's burning his ERS as well. I think K-Rox has this covered with the pace on the hard or on the softs. But that was a near thing, wasn't it? Goodness me.
Yeah.
How mad would he have been?
And JTK's in the final corner here.
Well, it's been a boring race for him, but certainly not for us. And we welcome Academy 1 in with a bang here in the desert, as he comes across the line to win the Bahrain Grand Prix and take 16 points after 16 laps on the hard compound tyres. How fitting. Roham will take 12 after 12 laps on the mediums. Okay, what is this glitch in the matrix here? What's going on? It's okay, it went up to 13. We're safe, folks. K-Rox does finish ahead of Thomas D. Just. Made that closer than he probably would have liked. And George came back magnificently towards the end here. The gap's down to 3 seconds.
Yeah, cut it right back in half. If only there wasn't that error at the hairpin, then perhaps George could have been fighting for that podium yet again. But Axie...
Well, it's something for him to work on, isn't it? And Axie, a well-deserved podium. He's done brilliantly this race, and a deserved third place on the podium. Probably deserved more, but the other two were just untouchable. George will take home fourth, and equally deserved as well. Hanos, after getting stuck on the curb, has done well to get P5, and he will be the last driver to cross the line. But it's all down to this man today, JTK. Dominant in qualifying, dominant in the race, but does not take the fastest lap. And I think that's sort of just the one thing that Rome could do to say, look, I'm still here, buddy. I'm your rival for the season, and I want this championship. First blood goes to the Ferraris, but there's a long way to go yet.
Yeah, but thoroughly deserved win from JTK. As you said, when he crossed the line, it has been an uneventful victory for JTK as he does his little dance.
He won't care in the slightest.
The top step of the podium.
He won't care in the slightest.
Uneventful, that's what you want sometimes. A nice, easy win. So, a great early showing, a great first step, and hopefully, for JTK, if they get their way, something to look forward to for the remainder of this season. Meanwhile, Roham, the fastest point, as you said, trying to close that gap as much as possible in this opening lap. And I think, to me, Axie was the most impressive. With starting in 6th place, fighting up to 3rd, tremendously done.
I'll tell you what as well, this leaves the constructors wide open as well, because we only have one driver from each team, so it's not like one team has made a runaway start in the constructors either. Ferrari will take the lead, but only by 4 points. So the driver points at the minute are the same for the constructors. So that's going to be really tight as well for the next race. So yes, Dutch Pride for JTK, doing his Max Verstappen Pride. Roham takes one for the rest of the world. Axie for, what's that? I don't even know what flag that is. I don't know my Baltic states. Slovakia, is it? Maybe? Maybe Slovakia. Somewhere around there anyway. George gets 4th for Greece. Hanos, because we never looked at the nationalities. Hanos for rest of the world. K-Rock for the Czechs. Thomas D also for the Dutch. Shelton, the American, not doing too well today in his native Haas, but hopefully doing better. And Christopher decided to run back off to Norway, but he'll be back. He'll be back. He'll always come back. You can't stop the Norwegians.
No, and those top 8 will get points. Christopher, unfortunately, not enough laps to get points, but again, opening lap of the season, everybody's still relatively close, and it builds up for what should be a very strong week 2 next week.
Indeed, it will be. I'm going to have to alt-tab here because I am unfortunately a one-monitor scrub. And I will get you let's just have a check in Power F1. Do we have anyone waiting for interview at the minute? We don't have anyone in the interview chat. Can maybe make a quick mention. If I can just say...
See if we could get someone to talk to. Be nice.
Let me see.
I'll see Shelton has.
There you go, Shark asking for any driver interviews. Well, very quickly, if we pop into the where is it? Do you have access to the channels? You may have to ask Shark for access. Shark says he's waiting for interview, although he wasn't even in the race. So we'll go to voice channel AC1 if you have access. Do you, sir?
I do.
Let's head over to voice AC1.
AC1.
As I will get the stream sorted here. As you can see, our lovely profile pictures there. Sahkir with his lovely professional suit and tie, and me in the corner confused screaming with a gas mask. The duality of man, as they would say. But we have the... Let's just see. We'll give them a few seconds to come into the waiting for interview. We've got George, and we've got Christopher as well. We can make a wee start on them. Let me just exit the game, just to stop all the music in the background. And if you'll bear with me, I think we'll get Christopher in first. I think. So, that's coming up okay on the stream, I believe. Yes, it is. We'll call Christopher in first. A bit unlucky. We'll try and find out if we can diagnose the problem. Move to... There we go. Hello. Christopher!
Hello!
My friend, commiserations. We saw the Discord chat. Mechanical failures with the Red Bull in Bahrain. It's never happened before. What happened there? Is that why you were... We noticed you were running wide a lot. Well, could that explain why you were making the mistakes there? Were you missing upshifts or something there, or what?
Yeah, so at the end when I retired, I don't know if you were on my onboard cam, but my upshift broke, so I couldn't go up gears. So if I actually wanted to go up gears, I had to turn on my AI every time. So in the corners, I would like tap one down. It was so hard to get it up at one point because like the screw was loose or something inside the wheel. It's still rattling when I turn it, and it just wouldn't go up. I had to press it super hard.
And then it just came off in your hand, did it?
Yeah, that's why I was slipping so much, and then I pushed it a bit too hard, and there's already some loose bits in there, and then it just fell.
Do you think it's salvageable? Like, you're saying you were probably hearing a screw rattling around there. Do you think you could take the back off and just screw the pedal back on? Because that sounds like what it is. Provided the wires haven't taken any damage, I think you'll be fine. If you're comfortable enough with it. Because what our main concern is if this is a big fix... You might miss next week as well if you have to get a replacement, you know?
Oh, no. Then we're splashing some money on a brand new fancy wheel.
Ooh!
I'm racing this weekend.
What are you thinking? Because you were on a G29. What's the Red Bull package upgrade going to be? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking a Fanatec.
Oh!
Ooh, big upgrades.
Oh,
you're serious about this then? Okay, yeah. I'm looking forward to this.
I'm kind of tired of this piece of shit. I've been wrestling with it for like what?
Do you know what? It's a grown-up stream. You're allowed to swear, for goodness sake. We're not going to stop you.
Wait, what?
It's a grown-up stream. I'm sure you're allowed to swear. I know we're on YouTube, but who cares? Just swear away. It's not like they listen to their own rules anyway.
It's normal way, man. We talk swearing.
Oh no, we do in Ireland as well. Like, I greet my friends, and if there's not at least 5 swear words, they think I've offended them in some way. You know? So, we're in the same boat here. But, just because we're streaming on YouTube, but that's okay. Honestly, though, considering you had the broken shifter, to pull off the pace that you had, even with broken equipment, I think speaks volumes. We were actually very impressed, considering you had technical gremlins. You still had good pace, so to see what you can do with a proper wheel, I'm looking forward to this immensely. And what would you say to that, Sahkir? I mean, I'm sure you'd agree with me on that.
Oh, absolutely. Christopher Sahkir here. You were through all of that, technical gremlins throughout, but at one point a 3-man battle for 4th place with Axie coming up on your rear, and every single time you seem to always stay within the fight. Do you think that if you had gone throughout the rest of the race that you would have had what it taken on the alternate strategy to eventually end up on top there with that 3-man fight at the time?
Yeah, but at the same time, they would probably just go worse and worse. So no.
Yeah,
I mean,
I was running wide all the time, and
we noticed that.
I could correct it all the time as well. So when I went to the corners, I just went wide all the time. It was really,
also,
the pace just wasn't there.
yeah, no, well, I mean, I would say the pace was, and again, I don't think it's fair to make an assessment on your pace when you had those gremlins, because that wouldn't have just been like suddenly coming on. You would have had that building up for a while, So I don't think it's fair to count yourself out on pace yet. And I have to say that's something we've said for this whole tier, even with just the 9 drivers. There was great racecraft there. 3 wide. I mean, most Challenger 1s couldn't go 3 wide without blowing everything up. You guys went 3 wide on multiple occasions. You had proper overtakes, proper racing, good solid pace. This was very encouraging to see, and it gives me hope for the other tiers and for the rest of the season. Hopefully we can get a few more drivers back in. But don't count yourself out yet, Christopher, is my advice. Because you've got a lot of potential in that car.
Yeah, thank you, but to be honest, the strategy is just try not get banned in the first race, and then see how it goes from there. Cause
well, I mean, your car did that for you. If your car's like, I can't get banned if I retire, That's what your car's thinking.
You never know.
It's a big brain move. So there you go.
No ban, so job done, right? Now
Yeah, job done. There you go.
So wins in the future races.
I mean, I'm still in the championship, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Now, I do have to let you down gently here, I'm afraid. Even though you were technically in the top 10, because you didn't complete 90% race distance, you don't actually get the points for finishing 9th.
Yeah, but I was still 9th, so.
Yeah, I mean, you were 9th, but you don't get the points for it because you didn't finish enough of the race distance.
I couldn't care. It's like what? 2 points?
2 points.
2 points. Hey, but those 2 points could make all the difference, So I'm not trying to scare you like that, but do try and we try. That was encouraging to see though. Like until literally your gear stick fell off, you were still fighting. If someone had heard rattling, they could have easily just said, "Right, I'll pull the car in because there's something wrong with my car." You were like, "Oh, there's a rattling sound. Let's just keep going and see what happens." And you literally drove. I can now say I have seen a driver that drove until their wheel broke. And that says a lot about you as a racer, that you just keep on going. So take heart from it, my friend. Go get a Fanatec and come back stronger. Is what I would say. Because I'm really, I'm grinning ear to ear. This has been such a good start to the season. Even with only 9 drivers. So you've done very well, even for what little you were able to do today. So hopefully, come back stronger next week, and we look forward to seeing you battling even more when we get round to the next track.
Fun too. It's fun because in any other league, I've gotten taken out left and right. This is the first time I've gone side by side into the first corner, actually not getting taken out.
With 3 wide at multiple points as well. Incredible.
Yeah. Well, and I will say I was kind of proud of myself because when Axie got ahead, I knew I probably wouldn't finish the race. I wanted to kill him, but I didn't.
Do you know what? And that's what separates us from the public lobbies. And my God, I'm thankful for it. But really well done, my friend. We've got a couple more waiting for interviews, so we're going to keep pressing on here. But hopefully get the wheel fixed. Keep us posted on that in the Discord. And we'll see you hopefully next week for next week. If I can just... Yes, it is Spain. If I just bring up the calendar, actually. Because we do have the calendar. Yep, next week will be Spain on the 17th of January. And I'll keep the calendar up for people just for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm good at Spain shit, Azerbaijan, Canada shit, Italy shit, Belgium shit.
Well, okay, easy up on the swearing a little bit, my friend,
All right, Christopher, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully we'll see you back next week. And good luck, mate. You're racing. Yep. We're going to keep seeing more of it.
Yep.
Indeed. Thank you very much, my friend.
Oh, the post office better get their asses in the hurry, so...
yeah. Tell your teammate to get in here. Come on. We want more of you. Yeah, you have a teammate, don't you?
No. Oh.
Well, officially you do. Hold on.
I'm the team principal. I'll get my under-colleague in.
Where's our lineups? You were meant to have... where's he gone? You were meant to... Oh, no, you did have... No, it was to be confirmed. You actually were driving solo there. So, fair enough.
Yeah.
No, wait, no, that's Shelton. Sorry, I'm a derp. Hang on. Where are we?
I was supposed to have Moses.
Yeah, Moses. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
away
from the
parting the
Bible.
Red Sea. You better go and get him. Get him out of the Red Sea and get him into the Red Bull.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not really with like dick riding and poke my fingers in people's asses, but I'll try.
Anyway, right, we must move on here, I'm afraid, mate. Sorry to shoo you on there. But we've got
Alright.
3 people waiting in the com box now, so... but it was a pleasure, and we'll see you next week, my friend, okay?
Yeah, I'll get at spotlight again.
Alrighty.
From the
Take
top
care, my
of the
friend.
Podium.
Yep. We'll see you there, my friend. Take care. There we go. I'm just realizing we actually need to update the lineups because we need to get George down for Alpha Tauri. He's down as to be confirmed at the minute still. So, but that was he's a lovely guy, isn't he? I'm sure they're all lovely guys. Well, you see, bring in the next guy, you just hear nothing but swearing. I mean, rude swearing. We heard nothing but swearing from him, but it was rude. We mean rude swearing. So Christopher's been in. Let's call in. Do you know what? GTK's been waiting a while, and he is our race winner. So JTK, sorry. We'll move him in.
There he is, our race winner, JTK. Welcome. Can you hear us?
Grazie ragazzi, forza Ferrari.
Yes. Ferrari for the win, of course.
Yeah.
Of
Well,
course.
well,
Quick
funny.
rap
We were
party,
saying a Ferrari winning in Bahrain and a Red Bull blowing up due to technical limitations. Where have we heard this one before?
Yeah, I think it was something of round 1 last week.
No, it was,
Race winner.
round 1 in real life F1. But
Yeah.
please don't pull a Leclerc and bottle it for the love of God.
Yeah, no, I won't.
But I mean, what can I say about the race? Really, you must have been half asleep at the wheel because you just took off, and no one saw you for the rest of the race. To be quite honest, was it as easy as you made it out to be, or?
Well, I saw in qualifying that I was quite a bit quicker because I screwed up the last corner and I lost 6 tenths and I went again and I improved by a lot. And I saw I was a lot quicker, so I was like, well, let's put on the mediums at the start and just pull away from the field. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we can make this as boring and as easy as we can. And that's exactly what I did. So I just pulled away from the field and it just kept the distance.
Hear that? He's trying to make our job harder. Let's make it as boring as possible. Stop trying to make the commentator's job harder, man. But no, thankfully it was an exciting race on other parts of the field. But I suppose the only other question I can ask really is, you've had a great start. You weren't able to hold on the fastest lap, but so it's a 3-point gap between you and the Mercedes. I mean, is this what we can expect from the rest of the season, or was Bahrain just a really good track for you, or what are your outlooks going into not only Spain next week, but further beyond?
Well, I don't really know, but my fastest tracks are probably Silverstone and Spain, so watch out for me in the race.
Oh wow.
Are we even going to
things
Silverstone?
bode-
Hold on, are we going to Silverstone? Where's my calendar?
I don't know.
No, we are going to
Oh,
Silverstone.
we've
We are
certainly
going to
got
Silverstone.
Spain next week.
Spain we're going to, yep, Silverstone we're going to, and that's a sprint race as well as Silverstone, so maybe extra
Double
points
points?
on offer there.
Yeah, we'll see.
So,
I'll do what I can.
anything to add there, Sahkir? I mean, there's not much really to ask him. It was a kind of a boring race for him, as I say.
Yeah, I mean, you were well ahead pretty much the whole time. There was one stint there for a moment when Rohan came into the pits and very quickly was starting to knock out, I think for 2-3 laps there, about a second a lap. Were you keeping your eyes on the timing screen once he came into the pits, or were you just aware of the fact that you probably were going to walk away with the win when it all came down to it?
Yeah, I was looking at the time. I saw 10 seconds and about 14 laps to go, so I was like, he has to gain more than a second in the beginning.
About a second a lap, yeah.
Yeah, because the mediums have to drop off, so I wasn't scared at all, just kept my cool. And then I saw the laps drop after 5 laps on the mediums, I think, something like that. So I was like, okay, from now on, this is going to be easy. Let's just keep my head down, make no mistakes, and just win the race.
Well,
You
let's
did
see
exactly that.
Let's see if that carries on then. But
Yeah, we'll do my best.
for now, I don't think there's much more we can add, and we do have a bit of a queue forming up outside. Someone give them some coffee while they're waiting. Yeah. Thank you very much, JTK, and we'll see you for Spain, and try to make it a bit more exciting next time, will you, please?
Yeah, well, maybe we'll go for a 2-stop next time.
Go for a wee spin or something, just to make us jump or something,
Yeah, or start at the back, maybe.
Last the first challenge, go.
Exactly. We'll see.
There you go. Right, thank you, JTK.
Yeah, no problem.
Have a good one. Good luck for the rest of the season, mate.
Thank you.
Okay, who have we got next? Why have we got Rickety in here? He's not even in the lead. Dude's
Got a
just
big
showing
queue
up.
though for me. Let's get George in here.
Should you get George in next?
Let's get George in. He had a great battle, a great go for third place.
Okay,
We can ask
George.
him what happened with the initial spin out.
I'm gonna do the mean rhyme on him here.
How-
Georgie Porgy pudding and pie spun his car and then he cried. What happened to you?
Don't bully me like that.
I will bully the George.
First of all, big ups to the Ferrari that won, like incredible pace. I was nowhere near him. And to P2 and P3 guys, good thing. Good. They had good pace. But qualifying, I practiced 10 minutes after I haven't played the game for months, so 10 minutes practice and then hopped in. So P3, I was happy about that. I knew I didn't have the pace for the guy on P1. He was a lot, like 6.5 tenths off me on qualifying. So
Very fast,
I, yeah, I knew he was very fast.
Sorry, Sahkir, take over
Guy
2
on
seconds.
P2, guy on P2, I knew we had kind of similar pace, even if he was on hards and I was on mediums. I think I had the pace to overtake him, or it was just
So-
very close between us.
Yeah, so I
But,
want to ask about that actually because you were pretty close behind Roham for the first opening laps there for quite a while, and then something happened, some sort of incident happened, and we missed it on the broadcast. Was there contact? Was there collision, or was there a spin there that brought you away from that position?
So yeah, what happened is I don't know. Early on the race, I was behind him, and then he broke a bit earlier. For my like braking was he broke a bit early, so we made a slight contact on the second DRS on the chicane over there. We made slight contact. He did a half spin, I think. I overtook him, and then I slowed down because I didn't want to overtake like that because I
Right.
spun him around. It wouldn't be fair. He re-overtaking me, and then on the next corner, on the left-hander after the second DRS zone, I completely just lost the rear end and spun around. Didn't get any
Oh.
damage, thankfully. So yeah, that's how I kind of lost the chance on P2. Then I got overtaken by P4, P5, and I dropped out to P6 if I'm not wrong. P7 maybe. Then
Yeah,
I had
you
the Red
were
Bull
down in
that spun.
P7 at one point, even.
Yeah, I had two cars that spun around. I think it was Hanos and the Red Bull of Christopher with his thing. And yeah, I closed the gap to Axi a lot of times. I closed it before the pits when I just hit a bad outlap. So originally the gap after my spin from P3 when I dropped to P7 was like 9 seconds, I think. Dropped it down to 5. It was 4.8 when I came out of the pit stop. Both came out of the pit stop. Then I closed that gap. I was on a 1 second gap. Then I spun again. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. At that point, I was like,
Yeah, what was the cause of that second spin? Because that battle we were watching very closely.
it was that the battle you were watching was the third spin. I spun one more before that.
Oh man.
Yeah, I didn't like my rear end on some exits on some corners was so bad. It was like one lap I had grip, the other one I didn't. It was like so random, and that's why I had a lot of spins. It's maybe because I haven't played the game for a while and I was still getting used to the car and all that. Uh, but yeah, I hit the second spin. Gap went up to 5 seconds. It was still early on the race. It was like lap 15 out of 29. So I knew I had time to close the gap. I knew I was quicker than
Yeah.
Axel. I saw that I was quicker with better lap times. I made a couple of mistakes here and there, but I managed to close the gap to the DRS. I got into the DRS. My strategy was I will stay behind him until lap 27 to lap 28. I want to recharge my battery because I pushed a lot.
Yeah.
But again on the second going down, I completely just lost the rear end and I was like, I was so close because I knew I had the pace. I knew I was seeing him how he was braking between like going into corners on the exits. I knew I was quicker than him. we had the same time compound. His tires was just one lap newer than mine. So I knew I could overtake, but I made that mistake, and it was a bit too late into the race. It was like lap 23, if I'm not wrong, and gap was 7 seconds. So I knew I
Yeah,
had to
yeah.
pull up some magic, but actually had good pace at the end. He kept the gap until last lap. It finished to 3.7. I just wanted to be in those 5 seconds in case an incident happened between him and Christopher. I don't really know what happened between them. But yeah, that was pretty much it. I was kind of frustrated after after so many spins because it was just so random. It wasn't something I was expecting. I was
So
expecting.
not the result you wanted, but with the
I mean,
mistakes and the warming up and everything like that, that's ultimately a very good result. Every time something happened, you always edged your way right back up into the conversation. So, do you think that there's more? We'll see more of this throughout the season. We have podiums potentially on the cards for you, George.
I mean, I'm just a reserve. I don't know if I will be racing as a main like driver. There is a spot if I want to take one, as you clearly can see, but it's if I have the time. But I guess I can be up to the P2, P3 fight, but not if JTK keeps up this pace. I don't think I will have a chance on a win. If he keeps like not having being so consistent, it's like we have a mini Bradley on AC1. Lars will understand what I mean by the mini Bradley. You'll see on Pro Tier, but yeah, he was so consistent. It's amazing on how consistent some people can be while driving. But yeah, I think you guys can expect some podiums by me next during the season.
Well, reserve driver or not, hopefully we do get to see you. And yeah, hopefully those
Yeah,
podiums are on the card. Lars, you have anything to add?
Not really,
I
to be
oh,
brutally honest. I kind of missed that
You
conversation. I
got
had
the
to
full
answer the
story
door.
of the race.
I had to answer the door, so I missed most of
yeah.
that, I'm afraid.
I got
Um,
I got a bit of a karma in the formation lab because while quick story,
Yeah.
well, like Christopher spun in the first like couple of seconds of the formation lap. I look behind him, I see him spinning, and I'm like, how the like heck did he spin? I will start laughing so much just for the next straight. I was warming up my tires, I lose my rear, and I'm like, ah shit, and I just spin it to the wall, and I'm like, come on now, that's so. I was.
Yeah.
That was the definition of karma on me. That I was like, I was just laughing to Christopher just for like the next corner I spin.
We
Ah,
did see that. Yeah, we did
of
catch
course you
that.
did. Oh, of
Luckily,
course you did. Ah, of course you did.
yeah. Luckily, it
Everyone
didn't
catches up my mistake.
penalize you throughout the race. But
I don't think so. Yep.
good.
Anything
Well,
else I can help you with?
good luck for the rest of the season,
Oh,
mate. Hopefully,
thank
we
you.
do get to see you. But thanks for the time,
Yeah,
brother.
yeah. Thank you for accommodating, Lars and Sahkir, if I said your name correctly.
don't worry, I
Uh,
enjoyed every second of it.
Yeah, I bet you did. I hope I see you racing tomorrow, Lars, and yeah, good luck on you, boys.
Thank you very much indeed, my friend.
Good luck. Good luck. We'll see you.
Yep.
Right, who's left?
Should be about everybody there, I think.
Let's see here. So George was in. Who is Rohi? Is that
Is that
the
Rohan?
Mercedes? Is that Rohan?
Possible.
Master the Rohirrim. Oh really? You didn't even get the Lord of the Rings? Oh bugger you. Is that the Rohirrim? Roham?
Hello?
Yep. Hello, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Assuming we've got the right guy. Second place. Can hardly say much better than that, aside from first, obviously. Your thoughts on the race?
It was a good race. It was a boring race for me. I just, at the end of lap 4, didn't see anyone for the rest of the race.
Yeah, big gap between you and first place. The opening laps, he seemed to really pull away there, but you had the hard tires. So, was that kind of still a part of your plan, or at what point did it feel like he was really starting to get away from you?
Yeah, he was quite fast at the first of the race, but I got hits from behind in lap 4, and that just set me off track, and I couldn't catch him.
Right, with George, yeah, the contact there. Were you also confident that without that contact you would be able to pull away with him and still secure that second place, or ultimately did his spin out later on in the lap really help you in securing second?
No, I would have got second. I was faster than George, but I wouldn't got first. Yeah, I couldn't get the win.
And then you obviously, when you came in for the pits, there was a period there where you were gaining about a second a lap for about 2-3 laps there. Got the lead down to about 9 seconds. So the gap down to 9 seconds between you and JTK. Did it feel like in that moment that it was on, you were getting the fastest laps? Or were you thinking that it was still a little bit out of reach?
Yeah, no, I don't think I was getting the win. I just pushed for the fastest lap to get that extra points. The gap was way too much for me to get the win.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
set up
fair
a
enough.
strong. It was a strong gap, absolutely.
I mean, do you see that being that way for the rest of the season then, or do you think this was just a one-off? I have a chance of actually winning and fighting for the championship.
Well, he's quite quick, but I think if I put more practice in, I can get him. And there's still a lot of races remaining, so there's hope. There's still hope.
Yeah, and with the fastest lap, you're only 3 points down, so plenty of season to go. Should give you plenty of time to make that next step up.
Yeah.
Fair enough then. Well, we're pushing on. This stream's probably going on way longer than we thought it would. So, unless we have anything to add there, Sahkir, I think we'll maybe start to wrap it up a bit.
Yeah, Roam, congratulations on second place, mate. We'll let you go. Good luck for the rest of the season.
Yeah, thanks.
All right,
Goodbye.
thank you, my friend. Sorry we had to squeeze you out there. But as you say, we've been going on for quite a wee while there. But that was a fantastic first race. Really pleased. Could we have had a better turnout? Yes, but what we have turning out there turned out to be a really good race. I hope you're as pleased as I am there, Sahkir.
No, we talked about it, the battles that we saw, battles for second, battles for fourth, battles for sixth, even there towards the end. We got to see 3 car battles for multiple laps in a row. I think the excitement, we saw both ends of the spectrum with this map, long gaps and distances, but also very tight corners as well. So everything that you could see, and probably everything we'll see for the rest of the season, we got a little teaser of it here in
I'm sorry,
Bahrain.
did you just call this track a map? This is not Counter-Strike, sir. This is not Counter-Strike.
This try, it's still a map, right? You put it up on a
Hamilton just
location.
buys an AWP and shoots the leader.
Yeah. I would love to play Counter-Strike on Bahrain, though. So there.
Counter-Strike while driving
the new
F1
Call of
cars.
Duty has an F1 map in it as well. So do a
CTF
big fan of
Bahrain.
that one. But yeah, go
CTF
ahead.
Bahrain. But anyway,
there we go.
just before we head off there, I'm going to bring up the calendar real quick just to give you guys. You saw this earlier on, but the calendar subject to change. But at the minute, we have just finished round 1, Bahrain. We're off to Spain next week, and then after that it'll be Azerbaijan, Canada, UK, Monza, Italy. Nice little geography lesson on that one. Belgium, then Austria, Singapore, Mexico, the Circuit of the Americas, Brazil, and finishing off with Abu Dhabi. I will still be protesting for them to swap Brazil and Abu Dhabi around, because Brazil is the best one to finish. But
I agree.
Anyway, you agree? There you go. I've got another commentator backing me up. But anyway, it's been a fantastic race. And it's been fantastic commentating, not just on this race itself, but also commentating with you, Sahkir. It's been brilliant, and this is the first time we've worked together, and I think we went very well together.
It's been a pleasure. Here's to many more.
Here's to many more indeed. I will certainly be if I can get my words out. I will certainly be back next week, and I hope you will be as well. And we hope you will be as well, folks, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is the start of the season. Power F1 is back. Join us tomorrow, although not us specifically, for Challenger 1, and then on Thursday we will be having the Pro Series, I believe, which, as we said, has a prize pool of $100 up for grabs for the overall winner, and various smaller prizes throughout as well, I believe, as well. But until then, it is goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me as well. It's been a pleasure.
And it's goodbye from him. Take very good care of yourselves, folks, and we hope to see you safe and sound next week when we go to Spain. Until then, have a very good evening. Bye-bye.